Hello, good afternoon, late afternoon, early evening here, and I'm going to show you another double feature, Belle Harder Inspiring Others, so hopefully this will inspire you. So I'm going to be using the Amber Autumn bundle in a couple different ways. If you know me, my favorite color is blue. I guess I'm wearing blue today, and it doesn't match the card. It's a different shade of blue, but it's still blue. So yes, I love blue. And then some traditional fall colors here. So if you love to color, this might be the video for you, because you'll get to see coloring on both of the projects. And because of that, that usually takes a little bit longer, not a terrible amount. I want to get my camera turned around though. Oops, there we go. For you, so that you can see everything better. Hello there, Julie. Good to see you. All right, so we've got, like I said, both of these projects here using the Amber Autumn bundle, or Autumn Amber. Amber Autumn. Okay. Even in my notes, I always have notes before I go, so that way it's my peace of mind before I leave the house for all of my in-person classes. And so on one part of my notes, I have the stamp set called Amber Autumn, and then my die is called Autumn Amber, I think, in my notes. But it's definitely Amber Autumn. And so the other part of the bundle that is in the Autumn Trois Suite is the Autumn Leaves stamp set and dies for that bundle. And I'm just loving these projects, and I think I'm just like wanting to hold them extra close, because we all know Thanksgiving's next weekend, and then even that is late for the season. But I just love crafting for fall. I love everything that fall offers, the cooler temps, the smells, the feels, the coziness, everything. So these are always right up my alley. Out of the two cards, I think I'm going to start with this blue one here too. This one is a little bit putzier, but if you've ever come to a class of mine, I always say if it takes a little bit longer or if it's a little bit putzier, it's because it's supposed to be worth it. So maybe you can follow along and tell me yes or no about that. All right, so for my card base here, I've got Misty Moonlight. I just love that they added this color a few years ago. It's probably been more than a few years ago, but you know how we always think, oh, that wasn't that long ago, and then they'll tell us it was like 2000. And then I think my son was born in 2000, and he's like a full adult, right? All right, so I've got this opening this way, and the next section that I'm going to add to this is the Dotted Circles 3D embossing folder, and I just love the deep circles that this gives. So definitely a good 3D choice for that. I love it when it gives both the up and the down on that too. And some people use this side, and I'm choosing this side because I'm going to give it some color, some additional color with my blending brush here. And of course, I know you guys like the measurements, so let me grab that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 eighths. It looks like 2 and 7/8 by, well, 5.5, because it goes all the way up to the top of the card. So 2 and 7/8 by 5.5. And you might go, why not just 3 inches? But when I was prepping for class, the dotted embossing folder is very large. It is, here it is. So you can see. So this is me. If I can put a full piece in here like this, okay, and then cut it into thirds, then I've got that. So there is some method to my madness when I'm prepping for classes. And sometimes even in my mind, I'll be like, oh, I've got time to cut. It shouldn't matter so much. And other times I'm like, okay, that would be like one less pass through the embossing, cut in emboss machine or something like that too. So that is why. So let me grab my Misty Moonlight ink pad here. I'm just going to set my sample out of the way so I don't accidentally get ink on it. And I like to do the counterclockwise motion with that. And then as I spread this over, you can already see it hopefully taking on color. Never sure how much transfers onto my videos. I always wish like you could be here like looking over my shoulder or right next to me. My grandkids like to do that. If they're in my little stamping studio here, they love to just like stand right next to me, and I love that because they're just so curious, and I think we all are. And I think we all like to see things like that, like this, that become kind of magical as you swirl on that ink. So just totally transform that look there. Kind of reminds me sometimes, depending on the color that I use, like a little gypsy 70-ish, or little, yeah, just, I don't know. Sometimes it can be like that rainbow swirl, like tie-dye look. So it always looks a little bit different depending on how I use it. But this, as bold as it looks now, is going to kind of just be a subtle part of the background. So I'm going to go ahead and get some adhesive on here. And while I do that, I just wanted to mention that there is going to be Stampin' Up's first ever Black Friday sale. They've done different things like autumn promotions or fall flash sale or something like that. But this is going to be some items up to 40% off. Of course, they haven't let us know what, but it sounds like cardstock is included, adhesives are included. And so with that, like the adhesives and cardstocks, maybe like 10, 15, 20% off, but some bigger products will be up to 40% off. I don't know all the details, but when I know more, I will post more. But that starts, let's see, next Tuesday. So I will keep you in the know as soon as I know. I was just at my training backstage. Oh, I should tell you what I'm using and doing here. I get so carried away. So this tiny little strip is from the, I always forget the name of it. I have it in my notes here. Earthened Toned. And that's why I'm like, it's not like champagne. It's not a certain color. It's not gold. It's not bronze. It is Earthened Toned. So a while back, if you remember, I made deer cards, and so I cut the silhouette out of the Earthen Tone. So I have this sitting here just in my little scraps, because who knows, maybe I could do something with that someday, right? But I cut this into little strips, so a 1/2 inch by 5.5 inches of the Earthen Tone, and I just love the darker tone of that, and that is also part of this suite. So yeah, I probably should get back to making my card, but I get really excited about sales. Let me not kid you about that. So at my backstage training, they said, you know, sometimes it's better to just post the day of the sale when the sale goes live, because then they have the links. They know all the information. You can give it to them. But I'm kind of like a planner. Like, I want to know. So I want my people to know ahead of time to be ready that day, and not to have a busy day and wake up and then 6 hours later there was a sale that you didn't know. And granted, the sale is multiple days. It goes on through December 1st, so Tuesday through Monday, so a long time. But because of that too, things could sell out. So that's why I like to let people know. So I think I am going to do what I always do. That's what my husband says, do what you do, and probably let you guys know soon about that. So probably not super soon, but before the sale goes live. Yeah, because tomorrow I leave for Okoboji for 4 days for the crafting retreat. I'm super excited about that. Okay, so let me tell you about these pieces here. So this little piece here is 1 3/4 inches by 4 inches. And then this one is 4 inches by 1 1/4. And then this little piece is 3 inches by 3/4 inch. And where do these come from? Well, actually, let's just pull this out too. So you can see kind of layered all those there. And then we've got this little piece here. So what I do sometimes when I know some of this is going to get covered up, I will take this. So you never know this bright yellow is part of this. So it is that Floral Delight 12 by 12 Designer Series paper. And you can see here, this is where we get that from, is that backside. And sometimes I think, well, why cut this out only to cut it off? So sometimes I will actually take my die. This is the Spotlight on Nature's dies, and I'll just only cut that much. Maybe the strip, then I'll just cut like 3/4 less than that, and then just run that through that way. And sometimes I can get a whole nother like 1 2 3 4 circles by the end of my 12 by 12 sheet. And then then I can make like 4 more cards or something. So it's all about saving that. And then the blues here, that comes from the beautiful Peaceful Gardens. That's where that comes from the mini catalog. And then I have this kind of tucked away, maybe not. It is in the online exclusives. Here we go. Part of this whole everyday, nope, I know that's not, oh, here, I've got 2 stuck together. I'm like, did I repackage it? Woven textures. So that is where that comes from. So lots of deep tones, and like, I just wanted like earthy things in there. So what I'm going to do next is tape this down, and yes, like people could choose at classes to use that side too. So I'm just going to kind of put that down at an angle, and then before I attach these two, I'm going to do that little banner cut. So I go straight up the middle, and then I meet it from each side. Find that way less stressful than trying to go side to side and hope that it matches up. So straight up the middle, and then cut and cut, and then usually they turn out pretty even. Okay, so now these 2 pieces can go on next. I just kind of put them on at an angle like so. Here we've got that, and then I'm going to, hi there Sherry, thanks for joining in. This because it's cut like so, I'm just going to give that kind of a tuck like here, and then it just is going to sit like that. So we've got this. Yeah, so we've got that. All right, and then let us go to stamping. So I'm going to get out my Memento Black ink pad, and I'm just going to ink up this. So from Amber Autumn, we've kind of got the 2 focal points. So this card's going to use this with the acorns and leaves, and this one's going to use the pumpkins here. So you'll get to see both in action in today's video as I make 2 cards here. So let me just ink that up like so. And I'm just going to do, I think, all of my stamping right away. So usually I finish with the inside, but let me bring over some scratch paper here. And I'm going to just take this and ink that up, not even all of it. It's just going to kind of sit in the corner like so, kind of just that hint of what was on the front. So got that, and then I'm going to open back up my Misty Moonlight ink pad here, and thinking of you, and you'll be like, that's not in that stamp set. Once again, I know, like, I sound like I don't know what, repeat, simply said, can't say enough about this. I'm always pulling this out. So the thinking of you comes from that. A lot of my stamp sets have a lot of just images, and so it's nice to have this. Okay, so I've got thinking of you inked up in Misty Moonlight on Crumb Cake. And then what I'm going to do here is just tear that towards me. Love that rough edge that gives. Just kind of adds to all the extra little layers that's going on with this card. Okay, so now this is ready to be die cut. So yeah, the only die cuts on the card, so we've got the embossing folder that I talked about, Spotlight on Nature, and then this Amber Autumn from that bundle. So I'm going to come through here, and it's just one die. My last video I was doing 2 at a time and using my magnetic pad. I kind of wanted to jump just enough that it was like getting annoying, so hopefully this one stays put. The other one didn't want to stay put even as I pushed it through and such too. Okay, so now we have our coloring lesson to come up, and love using the fall colors. So here's our array of fall colors, and I'm going to start with the pumpkin pie, the dark on the pumpkin pie. Oops, hold on. Oops. There we go. And I'm just going to go down the stem here of the acorn, and because this is going to be the darker all the way, I'm just going to keep going, and then just going to kind of outline the cap here on my acorn, on both of them here. And so pecan pie is going to be just the top part of the acorn. So that's good. And then I'll come with the lighter of the pecan pie here and just grab those edges of the dark and blend those together. Grab the edges and then pull that towards the middle like so. And it never looks like anything too wow until it dries a little bit. So sometimes not only is it not wow, this is now crumb cake, dark crumb cake. Sometimes just it looks plain ugly, like it just doesn't look like it sits right. And I know sometimes people will be like, mine doesn't look like yours. Well, maybe you think that because you want the instant, okay, I want this to look like the whatever you're copying or casing or even whatever you just have in mind. But sometimes it just needs a few minutes to take that time to blend together or just lighten up. And so maybe we all just need to lighten up a little bit. Okay, so that was the dark crumb cake. So now I'm coming back with the light crumb cake and that same thing, kind of going over the dark and then blending that and pulling that back together. And then same thing here too, just going to kind of blend that together. Oh, sounds like I'm getting another blend that's drying up on me. But I have so little here, I'm just going to keep going. Sorry about the fingernails on the chalkboard scratching noise. Okay, like that. So now I know this one needs to be replaced too. Okay, 'tis the season. I have been doing a lot of coloring, and maybe with that sale coming out, maybe it'll be a blessing to me that Stampin' Up! Will just say, Belle, you need blends, and they're all going to be on sale next week. It's going to be great. So maybe I'll put off my list or something. I did just order, so there's some things I knew I wanted, and some things I thought, I know if it's newer, it's probably not going to be on the sale. So I went ahead and ordered, and yeah, it's just one of those things that you can't guess. And the last thing I want is to miss out on something because it got sold out or something too. Okay, so this is the dark Cajun Craze. Just going to kind of go around the edges here, like so. Oops. Kind of looks a little scribbly. And do that and kind of come around. There's a little bit in there. And then I'm going to do the light Cajun Craze for the rest of it. And love the Cajun Craze for the fall colors. Have to be careful because there's one little jut out there that is not part of either of the leaves. And so that one always catches me off guard. I can be coloring away and have to go, yeah, that's right. I just colored right over top of that. All right. So I feel like the Cajun Craze, I don't know if it's the what makes up the colors or just that it's a darker color, but these I feel like always take a little bit more time to do their blending magic. They just don't want to immediately blend together right away, but then after a while I'll look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, they did start to blend together. Okay, so I've got that all filled in. And so what I was noticing is when I was getting ready to put this on my card, I loved how it looked. So here's the card I'm working with, and loved that. But I thought, is there a way that I can magically make it seem to become part of the card? So this is where I want to show you. I'm going to come now with my, my Misty Moonlight Stampin' Blend and just go over these veins here. Normally I would do that with the darker of my Cajun Craze, but I'm going to go over that with my Misty Moonlight, and I think you can see the difference there. It just adds a special touch that allows it to all be taken care of as far as making that just blend. So I just kind of go over it lightly, like so, but then it just adds. It's probably not exactly the way nature looks outside with the blue, but I did like the way it looked on this too. And like I said, it will kind of just bleed in. And if you're doing this and go, you know, it's still a little too dark or it just doesn't look right, that's when you can go over it again with the light Cajun Craze, and then it's just going to kind of make all that blue maybe tone down a little bit and just kind of blend that all together. So I like doing that sometimes when I'm adding those little accents that need a little bit more of the blending. So that's kind of fun. So now this is ready to go on there. I'm just going to add some dimensionals to pop that up here like so. Oops, like that. Right, got those. And then before I do that, well, actually, yeah, I think I can do that. I'm going to just set that right here. I'm going to set it. I'm not going to press it down or anything. I also want to get this thinking of you on there. So I'm just going to grab a couple dimensionals. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you so much. Right, so this I'm just going to kind of tuck like so. And I don't want that going too far off my card. So I'm going to just tuck that like so. Like I said, not pressing down on that too much because I have this irregular weave trim. I love this, you guys. It's kind of a stiffer ribbon, but it's easy to tie, easy to work with, and I love just sneaking little snippets of that in here. So I'm just going to take this little piece here, there's my ribbon scissor, and kind of just, it folds in half almost, so I can just kind of pinch it and it stays in that V shape. And then I can grab a mini glue dot here, and once I do that, then I can just kind of tuck it underneath here, and then that also adds just that little touch of texture, and I think that just makes the card one more notch up. So we've got that, and then let me do a little bit of embellishing. I always kind of laugh when I pull out my pressed flower motifs. In the summer when these came out, they to me look like little wood ticks, and now that we're into the fall season, I don't think that as much, which is good, because I hate wood ticks. I just think they're like, I don't know why they have to be. And so now I like the look of it, so I'm just going to put one of those there, and then I'm just going to kind of set one of them over here. Actually, I think I'll add another one yet up here. Yeah, I like that. You know me, it always has to be 3, but I was like, is there room for that or not? So I've got that. So very, very much a little like putzier, a lot of layering and levels to it, but I really like how it turned out. And I think everything added a little bit of specialness to that to make it worthwhile. And then of course, remember when I was stamping, I did that extra for the inside. And so that's just going to tuck right in there. Let's see, like so. And then we've got that for a thinking of you, could be for sympathy, get well, anything like that. So that's why I'm just going to leave the inside blank except for that follow through image. So got that for card number 1. And then I'm going to go right into my second card using that same bundle, but I'm going to have the pumpkins be the highlight of this next one. This is going to be the earthier, more traditional fall colors here. And so I've used Cajun Craze and Mossy Meadow here. And then I've pulled out that big die. I did that ahead of time because this is from a class too. And this is just so pretty. I've even seen this die cut very vanilla on very vanilla, and it just is so pretty. It's such a great background die. Originally, my thought was to make this the whole card front in Mossy Meadow, but I ended up cutting it back down so that it was 4 by 5 1/4. It just kind of needed the outside Cajun Craze color to peek around the edges to make it look better. Otherwise, it just seemed a little too solid, or it just seems strange to have the Cajun Craze in here and not on the edges or something. So I ended up doing it that way. So I can go ahead and just kind of sneak some adhesive here and that wherever there's larger leaf parts that I can do that. It doesn't take a lot, and I'm going to end up adding more pieces to my card that will help it just stay put kind of too. All right, so I'm going to go like this, and sometimes that shows through, so then I just kind of pull it towards me and get rid of some of that extra excess adhesive. All right, so I've got that, and then I'm going to actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and work on the pumpkins and then make that all come together. So with my basic black ink pad here, I'm gonna ink up these pumpkins like so. Got that. Right, and then we've got a die for that, and that is also that same bundle, my Amber Autumn. And so this is ready to die cut like this. And I've been using this so many different times. I should have thought ahead and brought on the pillow gift that my roommate Rolanda gave me at Backstage. She stamped that in Misty Moonlight and just kind of blended the color out just to make it monochromatic, and it was so pretty, and it just kept all the detail of the gourds and the pumpkins, and it just looked so pretty, so pretty. I plan on doing one more video tonight, so maybe I'll have to pull that out for that video and just give you kind of a sneak peek there. Let's see. I'm going to, hold on one second, grab some. Didn't like the way that Cajun Craze was coloring, so these just came in the mail, and so I'm going to pull those out to use just because I know I'm not going to be happy doing it the other way. All right, so the colors that I'm going to be using for my Stampin' Blends on this is going to be Mossy Meadow and Darling Duckling and Pecan Pie and Cajun Craze. So here's my sample. Might need that for coloring. All right, so I'm going to take my light Pecan Pie, and I'm just going to go over all these little wisps of kind of those little wheat looking pieces here for the greenery. Yeah, and every single one is just going to get to that same thing. Some of them I just kind of dot, and then the gourds too, I'm going to go over that. I know on the other I kind of went down the stem of the gourds with the darker, but this I want to leave a little bit lighter just for the color combination here that I'm using. And then for these leaves, I'm just going to do a scribble. They're going to kind of get all of the colors. And then I've got this that I'm coloring on the bottom there. And then these leaves, like I said, are going to get all the colors that way too. So this is what I'm doing with my light Pecan Pie so far. And then for the dark, I'm going to just go and add a little bit more here and there, not a lot to these leaves, kind of just a little bit more scribbling. Finish this one here, and then add a little bit of the leaf of the corn here into there, and then fill in that for that pumpkin. So Pecan Pie I think is done, and then I'm going to go over my corn. I'm just going to kind of scribble like so. That's the darker, and then I'm going to just scribble the lighter. So we already have kind of a two-tone look because the corn's pretty detailed. And then I'm going to just kind of go over some of this corn stalk and a little bit of the leaf, and over here and over there with some of the Darling Duckling. Then I'm going to come back with my Pecan Pie and just kind of dot that here and there, and then finish up kind of that corn leaf with that. But just dotting on the corn, doesn't that make that kind of look like maize? Let's see. Maybe you can't see. I don't know. Okay, so I've got that. All right, and so then I'm going to go over to my Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to start with the dark. Oops, I like the bullet tip. Okay, and I'm just going to go down this gourd and just kind of follow back up and go down these lines like so. All right, and then I'm going to do some of the veins of the leaves now with that. So each time we're kind of adding to those leaves to make all those colors come together. All right, and then with the Mossy Meadow again, but the light Mossy Meadow, just going to go over all of that, blend that like so. I do see I missed this pumpkin's top right here, so I'm going to come back with some Pecan Pie and fill that in. There's a lot to this one. Okay, so now we're ready, oops, for some Cajun Craze. And these actually go pretty fast because they're bigger, but you can just kind of outline these like so. And then I just go down the stripes. I love it when Stampin' Up! Kind of gives us those like little black lines, artist sketches, because then I know I can just follow those with my blends, and that's where I know to put my ink a little bit heavier, or to put not so much heavier, but to put my darker color there. Okay, so I'm just gonna go like so, and follow that up a little bit, and go down. So glad I just reached for these Cajun Craze new blends out of the package, because boy, you don't realize like how nice the new ones are when you're kind of scraping by with the last bit. Okay, and now I'm just going to color this with the lighter, and once again just kind of pulling the darker when I can from the bottom up to meet that. And then same here for the second pumpkin. So this one comes together pretty fast when there's a large area to color in. Sometimes the larger areas look intimidating to do all the coloring, but sometimes they're the fastest ones. And then I'm just going to kind of go around my leaf here, like so, and I think I'm going to finish it with some mossy meadow. Sometimes I don't know what it needs till I have like all the other colors on and go, okay, how is that gonna fill in? So my light mossy meadow, it's just gonna kind of fill in all those other spots, like so. So just make it. Okay, now, oh, I was gonna say my video said that I was trying to finish. It's like, no. Okay, so we've got that. Hopefully it stayed going on your end. All right, so now I've just got a couple little pieces to add. And so this is from the Autumn Tois Designer Series paper 12 by 12 from the Suite. So I'm just going to put this little strip down. Oh, you guys will want to know it's 3/4 by 4 inches. I'll just kind of line that up on the same edge as this. And then let's do a little bit more stamping here. Grateful for you. I'm inking up in the black, Memento Black. And that is also from the Autumn Tois. Actually, I must have squished it. I don't like that either. Okay, I've got to have some more here somewhere. Here we go. Maybe, or is it that bad? Okay, maybe, yeah, I don't like that. Hold on. I've been so busy packing up so much stuff for my crafting weekend away. It's like the stuff that's normally at my fingertips maybe isn't there. So much better. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to give that a snip and then give that a little bit of a banner cut here with that. And then this is going to be ready to put some dimensionals on both things. And then I'm going to also add some more of that irregular weave trim to this too, to add a little bit more texture and depth to the project. Okay, so this is, oops, let's get those dimensionals off here. And, all right, so this is ready to go and this is ready to go. So then I'm just gonna take and add some adhesive on like this. And then what I like to do is just lay this down, fold it over, give it another fold and lay that down. And then just give that a snip there like so. And then, oh, there. Okay, then this is ready to go on here like that. And then my grateful for you can go kind of just tucked in there like this, but popped up. And then I'm just going to finish this with some of those streaked dots. Loved the streaked dots, so it's good to use those again. I feel like I haven't for a while, and they coordinate so well with things because of them being more neutral. So I'm just going to grab one of the big ones and then a couple of the small ones and just kind of add those off to the side here too. They kind of remind me of that tiger eye jewelry that we used to see more of. And then for the inside, in that same bundle, Autumn Wishes. I'm just going to ink that up in my Memento black ink as well. And add a little bit of adhesive. And then we've got that for the inside, Autumn Wishes and Grateful for You. So got that. And if you're just joining in, I also made this card too for the video. So hopefully you guys can get some inspiration from that. The Autumn Twa bundle, or Sweet with the Amber Autumn bundle. So I'm going to be posting these along with my recipe. I always call it my recipe, all the supplies used to make the cards. And then hopefully in a couple hours, I'll be back again to show you one last project today. So take care. See you then.